Let's just be honest. The left controls almost everything, right? The left controls big media. The left controls big tech. The left controls Hollywood. The left controls higher education. The left controls big corporations. The left now controls big sports. I mean, just watch the NBA, right?
I don't watch the NBA anymore.
Right. But the left controls the Congress right now. The left controls the White House. The one area they don't control, and this is the beauty of our great country. The one thing they don't control is they still don't control individuals. We, the people, still have individual liberties, individual rights, so we can think for ourselves and express ourselves and speak out. But they're even trying to stop that with the whole cancel culture. So, and finally, maybe the one institution that they still don't control is state and local government. We learned that the FBI was spying on a presidential campaign. Like, that's not supposed to happen in our great country. A major party's political or presidential candidate, their campaign was being spied on by the other party's Justice Department, i.e. the FBI, Jim Comey. I mean, that's scary. And so you talk about, you know, all the misinformation. It's funny, too, because this is the other thing I take away from Jen Psaki's comment. They're the ones identifying misinformation. Well, how many times have they been wrong on that? Over the last 4 years, they told us the protesters were peaceful last summer. They told us that Republicans defunded the police. They told us the dossier was real. They told us Trump colluded with Russia. Bob Mueller did a $30 million investigation, said that's not accurate. They told us Trump cleared Lafayette Square for a photo op. The inspector general said that's not true. They told us, how about this one? Hunter Biden was Russian misinformation. Holy cow, we had an eyewitness, Tony Bobolinsky. We had actual documents, the emails. We had a laptop, and we had the FBI investigating it, but somehow was Russian misinformation. I mean, time and time again, every major story they told us was misinformation. They lied to us about it. And now they're the ones telling Facebook, oh, you got to take down misinformation. That's frightening.
If I could add a couple to your list, Brett Kavanaugh's a rapist, the Covington kids, Jussie Smollett. I mean, the list goes on and on. So as you are seeing Psaki say, okay, we're flagging things for Facebook, or her other one last week, which was even worse in a way, which was if you're banned from one social media site, you should be banned from all, as if that has anything to do with what her job is. I mean, are you shocked? Like, I think I'm not shocked, right? Like, I've been doing this for a while. I've been sensing and warning about this stuff. But I think a certain amount of people are like, you know, that voted for Biden because they had whatever their aversion was to Trump and the tweets or whatever. But I think a certain amount of people actually are shocked right now, like how out of control this thing feels.
Yeah, I think you're right, Dave. You're not, because you follow it and you know all these issues so well. And frankly, most of us in elective office who've been here, for a few years, we shouldn't be shocked either, because we saw the trend. We saw the IRS target conservatives. We saw what the FBI did with the dossier and with the Trump campaign, and we saw what they did with. So we've seen all this sort of progress. So it's still frightening. It's still scary, but we sort of kind of saw some of this coming. But I do think there are lots of Americans who are very nervous about what they see happening to liberty. I talked with them I was back in our district last week talking with supporters and people. They're very nervous about what they see. And how many times have you gotten the line from someone who follows you, you see them at the airport or something, they come up to you and they'll say, I'm really nervous about our country. Can our country, because they love this country. They love the flag. They love what our country stands for. They love the people who sacrificed for our country and liberated their country and took on the Nazis and everything. They love all that, appropriately so, but they are nervous, very concerned about where the left wants to take us. And that didn't happen 15 years ago in politics, but now I get that every time I'm traveling to an airport.
Right. There used to be a basic agreement that America was fundamentally good, and then it's like, okay, we can argue from a liberal perspective or a conservative. Now it's, in essence, should this thing continue? But backing up to the big tech stuff for a little bit. Yeah. So breaking them up, let's talk about that for a little bit. What does that actually look like? Like, you want Amazon basically to have their server farm, AWS, as a separate company than, say, the consumer-facing side that we all, buy our toilet paper on, or that sort of thing?
What I think should happen is, we have historically done this. We got 100 years of antitrust law. We have historically done this through the court process. Now, that is a slow process. I would like to speed that up, because I see the danger of big tech, and I see, what we just talked about with the government pressuring big tech to do certain things that the government defines as misinformation. That's dangerous. So I want that process speeded up. But what I don't want, and what makes me nervous is, because I think it would be a worse situation, is to, instead of having it go through the court system, is to move it over to the regulatory commission. Because right now at the FTC, the people who run the FTC are radical leftists. Becca Slaughter is a member on the FTC commission. She has said we should use antitrust law to deal with systemic racism.
Yeah.
You and I would say, no, we shouldn't. And 100 years of antitrust law says, no, we shouldn't. So that scares me. Lena Khan, who's the new chairman of the FTC, who, by the way, when Biden nominated and put up for nomination from the Senate, didn't tell the senators, which is historically the way it's supposed to work, but he didn't tell the senators that he was going to make her chairman. Guess where she worked before she went to the FTC as chairman?
She worked for Facebook or something, right?
She worked there, but more importantly and more recently, she worked for Jerry Nadler, David Cicilline, Hakeem Jeffries, all the people who were the impeachment managers who put together these bills. My guess is Lena Khan wrote the bills that give all the power to the agency she now chairs. I don't think that's a good thing for Dave Rubin, who believes in the First Amendment, and Jim Jordan and the folks I get to represent. So that's my concern. Let's let it work through the court process. But let's do it quicker, because as bad as it's getting and the pace that big tech is going to limit our freedoms, I want an answer soon. And I think Justice Thomas is with us. My guess is the court's with us because they got to be Amy Coney Barrett, Justice Alito. They got to be concerned with what they see when the press secretary for the United States president steps up at the White House briefing room and says, we're working with Facebook to take down people's posts and take down information.
So you basically see the judicial branch, I mean, in essence, the Supreme Court, because that's where this probably ends up. You see that as the last firewall, right? I mean, at that point, if nothing else works, and to your point, if the whole middle branch of government, if the congressional branch and all the regulatory people, if they're all compromised, it's judicial or nothing. Well,
but we could do something legislatively, but frankly, we're not in control. I mean, right now, the Democrats have the House, they have the Senate, and they have the White House, and they're going to have the White House until President Trump runs and wins in 2024, which I hope is what's going to happen. I think it's going to happen.
Bold. So you think he's doing it? You think he's doing it?
I do, and I've encouraged him to. Every time I talk to him, I encourage him to run. But the truth is, we can't change anything right now. So all we can do is what you do. We can highlight every time they're infringing on Americans' liberties. And I do it at every speech I give, all across our district, all across the country. Every time I'm out talking, I talk about, I just go to the First Amendment. I said, think about the First Amendment. The liberties you have under the First Amendment, every single one of them has been assaulted by government over the past several years. I mean, your right to practice your faith, your right to assemble, your right to petition your government, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, every single one. I use the example, when there's still churches today, Dave, that probably, well, my guess is in LA County, there are probably still churches today that a full congregation can't meet on Sunday morning. And a few weeks, this is probably now, 8, 9, 10 weeks ago, I spoke to, think about your right to assemble. I spoke to the New Mexico Republican Party in Amarillo, Texas, because they had to go to Texas to get freedom. They had to go to Texas to be able to assemble in the size they wanted to assemble because their Democrat governor wouldn't let them assemble more than 149 people in the state of in New Mexico. So that's crazy. But and on it goes. So I think this is the fundamental issue, and I mean, scares me to death. Scares me to death.
So to that point, how concerned are you that just nobody trusts the system anymore? That's sort of where I'm getting, which is, that's what the kids call black pill, that you just think that the thing is so broken that nothing could be done. And I always try to put a positive spin on all this stuff, and I want to do solutions, of course. That's why I do this. But I think a lot of people are just like, you know what? I don't trust the medical experts because of lockdowns and masks anymore. I don't trust the politicians who say one thing about elections when their guy's in and the other way. Like that the whole system, it only works if we trust it. And a lot of people just don't trust it anymore.
Yeah, and I'm very concerned about that. And it's when you have, and again, I think most of the blame, frankly, lies with the left. The left has attacked every institution we have. And frankly, let's just be honest, the left controls almost everything, right? The left controls big media. The left controls big tech. The left controls Hollywood. The left controls higher education. The left controls big corporations. The left now controls big sports. I mean, just watch the NBA, right?
I don't watch the NBA anymore.
Right. But the left controls the Congress right now. The left controls the White House. The one area they don't control, and this is the beauty of our great country, the one thing they don't control is they still don't control individuals. We, the people, still have individual liberties, individual rights, so we can think for ourselves and express ourselves and speak out. But they're even trying to stop that with the whole cancel culture. So, and finally, maybe the one institution that they still don't control is state and local government. And that's why what DeSantis is doing in Florida with the Florida legislature, what they're doing, they're pushing back in our federal system. That's how the founders, and God bless these individuals, put our system together. There are not only checks and balances with the separate and equal branches of government, there's the federal system where the checks and balances also come from the states. And that's where we have to fight back now. And we're having some governors who are doing it. And I think that's giving some more courage to other governors, particularly other Republican governors, to step up and act like DeSantis is doing in Florida and push back on the crazy left and the policies they want.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics instead of nonstop yelling, check out our politics playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.